set high. No pressure, sir. Next up, we have the best man. Their friendship has lasted 25 years. Let's see if it can stand another 25 minutes. Craig Davies.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's amazing to be here. I have to say, I've had a wonderful day so far. As the chaps at my table can testify, I've been quite nervous on the build-up to delivering this speech today, which is kind of weird, really. As you would imagine, I've had plenty of practice for speaking for Andrew thus far. But yeah, it doesn't get any easier the more times you do it. First and foremost, I'd like to say a big thank you to Bronwyn's bridesmaids, Sophie and Rachel, for a standout performance this afternoon. You really nailed it, girls, today, and I'm very grateful for that. I'd like to thank Bronwyn's dad, Will, for his incredible speech. That was amazing. As you can see, real men don't need cards, but there you go. I also need to thank Mark for the sterling effort he's put into his role as MC today. And I sense that you may be the man to finally knock IC3 off the top spot. Not everyone's going to get that joke. I want to thank the venue for hosting this beautiful ceremony and reception, and I want to thank everyone present for adhering to the COVID secure rules. Anyone who is perceived not to have followed these requirements will have the dog set on them at the end of the day. Not Buster, though. Or at the very least, judged harshly. A special thank you goes out to everybody that made Andy's stag do possible. And Andy entered the public inn that afternoon like a man heading to the gallows. He was exhausted, fragile and vulnerable, which is just the way I like him, incidentally. But he emerged late that evening a stronger and more resolute individual, precisely the man you see before you today. I know that he got the stag do he wanted, and he was extremely appreciative of this. I'm sure that everybody here would like to thank the bride and groom for their kind invitation today. I think that deserves an applause. Congrats, everybody, you made the cut. I'm conscious of just how difficult the selection process has been for Andy and Bronwyn. Your presence here today implies that you're either thoroughly well-liked by the couple, or alternatively, a non-invite would be widely viewed as being in poor taste. I will leave you to ponder which category you fall into. So, congratulations to the happy couple. You both look fantastic. As I'm sure many of you will know, this isn't Andy's first rodeo. However, I'm confident you'll agree with me that life and love often isn't a straightforward experience. Maturity, wisdom, and personal insight count for a lot in this world, and Andy's going to achieve these things any day now. Seriously though, I feel that what we have witnessed today is the coming together of a couple that are truly meant for each other. I have personally witnessed warmth, integrity, humility and strength in Bronwyn, alongside crippling and ever worsening neurosis in Andy, that demonstrates that this is a caring and mutually supportive relationship that truly works. Andy and Bronwyn are connected to each other. It's clear for anyone to see. And as Ernest Hemingway quite rightly stated, the first draft is always shit. Sorry about the highbrow jokes, lads. It's an Oxford crowd.
You can't talk.
Give it a go.
A little known fact about Andy is that he made the decision to move to this great city not for the purpose of becoming educated in one of its renowned institutions or to experience its exquisite blend of culture and progressive thinking, but rather for the following reason. Oxford at that time was allegedly the only UK city of worth that provided classes in both Taekwondo and Aikido. I know, what a geek. Anyhow, as it turns out, and quite by chance, Andy's less developed decision-making abilities laid the early groundwork for us being sat here together today. As it was Taekwondo that led to the Happy Couple meeting. Thankfully, Andy dropped out the Aikido pretty quickly. Had he not, we could have been having a very different wedding because we all know what that Aikido lot are like. Whatever that means. Now, the exact details of the couple's first meeting are slightly more troubling, if I'm honest. So I would brace yourselves, frankly. It transpires that Andy was actually teaching the Taekwondo class that Bronwyn attended on the fateful day of the couple's first meeting. It seems that Andy, being the industrious human being he is, literally took his work home with him. Personally, I'm just glad he didn't get that job in the primary school now. You struggle to gauge these things when they're in your own head. As many of you will know, Andy and I became friends at the tender age of 12 when our families both set up camp in Madrid. In terms of early adolescent social engagements, the landscape was as barren as the Mediterranean countryside. So meeting Andy and his family was the perfect tonic. The Tomkinsons were a collection of energetic, loud and outgoing individuals, and much fun was had. Of all the Tomkinson children, Vicky cut the best deal, I think, as she was saved the humiliation of having to wear a Super Mario tracksuit that matched her siblings. Andy went to great pains to assure me that he was made to do this. A bit weird at 13, but there you go. Happily for everyone, Sandra will now pass on the baton of responsibility for dressing Andy over to Bronwyn. During our early teenage years, Andy and I developed an intense interest in the military. We would regularly camp out in the garden, dressed in fatigues and First World War webbing, making patrols of the neighbourhood, with firm aspirations to join the army as officers as soon as they would have us. Such was Andy's passion for this cause. When a serving soldier friend of my family visited, Andy inquired with her whether he would be considered to enlist early if he took his A-levels in advance of his peers. Sadly, this obsession died when eventually camouflage was swapped for a fluorescent froggy shirt. In the next stage of our development, we became ravers, festival goers, hedonists, and it was the greatest of times. I don't wish to brag, but we've partied with lords, the offspring of C-list celebrities, various nefarious individuals, and on one occasion, Fred West's neighbours. Which is genuinely true. But despite this, at his core, Andy would always be a military man to me. It was this, I suspect, that prompted the choice of location for his proposal of marriage to his beautiful bride. Top marriage proposal locations include Paris, Venice, New York, and Milton Keynes. But these sorts of tourist traps wouldn't satisfy the big guy here. No. Andy chose the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Otherwise known as the world's most isolated and secretive state. On said mission, the first task at hand for our comrade was to smuggle the engagement ring recently purchased from Lizzie Duke at Argos past both his intended bride and heavily armed airport security guards in Pyongyang. Having boldly achieved this act of reverse smuggling, our friend's next task was to pop the big question. He did so, as any of us would, I imagine, in front of a large bronze statue of the great leader. I don't know quite how confident Andy was on that special day, but happily for everyone, Bronwyn agreed, and I couldn't be happier for the pair. As you'll no doubt be aware, Andy and Bronwyn had originally planned to marry at this exact time last year. I know that they were both disappointed to have to postpone and then to scale down today's wonderful ceremony, but I think you'll agree that had they needed to wait any longer to tie the knot would have been a crime. And in regards to the fact that I was forced to leave my partner and many children behind today, I have only 2 words for you both: thank you. I'm aware that the couple's desire to move forward with their nuptials today rather than wait another year is partly motivated by their desire to start a family. So from this moment forth, we'll be anxiously awaiting the magical news. I think the couple will make incredible parents, and frankly, it's high time they suffered like the rest of us. Clearly, this speech wouldn't be complete without saying a massive happy birthday to Andy also. And I think a round of happy birthday is appropriate there. Yeah? Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Auntie. Happy birthday to you. Woo! I was going to say, speech. Oh, you can do it in a minute anyway. So, getting married on the same day as turning 40, whilst also in the midst of the Euros, must be an incredible high. I imagine it's much like drawing your state pension while smoking crystal meth for the first time, in the midst of the Euros. Happy birthday, mate. You deserve to have a great birthday on what is already a momentous occasion. As I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate, this reception had to be significantly scaled down from what would otherwise have been a much larger affair. I know that Andy and Bronwyn would be thrilled for you all to continue to celebrate with them back at the hotel. Woo. Don't clap there. And so, with that, I ask you all to raise a glass to Andy and Bronwyn, the happy couple. Left me drink.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers. All right, cheers.